Today on Tech Talk, I'm going to unbox my new basic 100 megahertz digital storage scope. We'll put it up on the audio generator, run some tests on it, and just see how it performs. This is going to be a very quick overview as I got a lot of learning to do on this thing, and once I figure out all the features, we'll do a more in-depth one. But today, we're going to look at this new unit and see how it works. Hey guys, this is my newest acquisition of test equipment, and I figured I'll unbox it here on camera so you guys can see what's in here. This is something I never thought I'd ever require. Keeping you guys in suspense here. Just what is this thing, you're wondering, right? Well, this thing is a oscilloscope. Now, something I never thought myself that I would ever need is a digital scope, a DSO, digital storage scope. Because the stuff that I'm working on is generally analog equipment. But after searching for a replacement scope that I could afford, and when I see people asking outrageous money for like a 100 meg analog scope, like an HP or a Tektronix, I had a few people make offers offering to donate a scope, but that was months ago, and nobody even bothered to get me a price to. I would have gladly paid the shipping, but nobody even bothered to get me a price. And after going to flea markets and swap meets and going to clearance sales from shops that went out of business, when I'm finding that, you know, creditors, for example, for a business that closed down, you know, want $450 for a 30-year-old leader 100 megahertz scope. No, that's the price of what this thing was, right? This wasn't much more than that. So I decided I'd spring and get myself a brand new one, and hopefully I'll win that the contest from Keg so that I can pay for this thing. So vote because it's open until the end of the month. Anyway, let's power this thing up and take a look at this thing. I've never used one of these scopes before, so this is going to be a learning experience for me too. But this eventually is going to replace, well, it won't be eventually, it'll be pretty quick. It's going to replace this monster that's sitting on my bench here. And I mean, this thing is just a brute. I'm not going to get rid of this thing. This is a collector's piece, right? This will probably go back in service with my my little oscilloscope clock module on it that gives the XY display, and will display the time on that nice, great, big round tube. And I got to do something about that noisy fan. They'll put a quiet one in if I want to use this as a timepiece, because as you guys know, that thing makes enough noise to wake the dead. But anyway, this is only going to take up a fraction of the space on my bench, which means I'll have more room for putting equipment up for test. And if it does the job of letting me look at signals, I don't really need the measurement capabilities, but hey, it's there. So I guess first things first, we'll connect the scope probes, and we'll connect the function generator, the audio generator, and we'll just do some measurements on this and just see how it looks. And then I have to learn how to use this thing because, as I say, I've never really used a DSO before. So if I connect channel 1 probe, there should be I would imagine that's it. Signal ground. Where's my test? This is my test here. And so that's going to be a square wave output, and as you can see, we've got a square wave here. As I say, I have never used one of these before, so I have to kind of play around with it and figure this out. Scale. Okay, so that gives me. Okay, here's my, okay, this is now what I'm looking at here. I can see what I'm doing here. If I can get a close-up of the screen here. This is 500 millivolts per division. 200 millivolts, you see, so So that's the internal generator here. And if I change manual display, as I say, it's going to take some getting used to. Let me play around with this thing and we'll take a look at what this thing can do. Okay, I figured this one out. Channel 1 and channel 2. I can put them both on one at a time. Okay. And this knob here is my time base adjustment. So right now we're looking at 50 microseconds, 100 microseconds, 200, 500, etc. This is where you can adjust your time base adjustment. So that's looking at the internal square wave generator. I'm going to hook up my audio generator and see how it displays an analog signal. This can be kind of fun though for looking at signals. Hey, I can now capture digital. I can capture digital signals. Not that I probably don't need to do that, but I've got that ability now. Anyway, let's I'm gonna grab the audio generator. I'll hook that thing up and we'll take a look at some audio signals on this. Okay, I've got it now plugged into my audio generator. I've got the sound turned off. I've got it actually going to my amplifier too, so. There we have about a 400 hertz tone. Now this thing's supposed to have a frequency counter in it as well. Measure, what does this do? Ah, there we go. We're at 392.24 hertz. And now we're at 400. Shall we see how accurate the guitar tuner is? I've got one of those kicking around here somewhere on my bench, I'm pretty sure. We'll use the 440 hertz tone for that. So let's just turn this thing up to 440. Incidentally, when the unit's new, the language it comes out of the box is Chinese. So what you do is you press the utility button followed by the F4 key, and then you can use the multi-purpose dial to select your desired languages because it has multiple languages. But the menu comes up in Chinese, so hit utility, then F4, then you can select your language. So 440.08. Let's see if the guitar tuner is going to work. Probably got to give it a bit more volume in this so that it can hear it. That guy, does that tell you anything? We'll bring this thing to the meter here so it's exactly. See, it tell me I'm a little bit sharp. We're dead center. So, there we go. We're exactly on frequency. And the guitar tuner proves it. So, anybody who argues that using a guitar tuner with a 440 hertz tape is not going to get an accurate speed calibration on their tape deck, you can tell them, or they can stuff it, because you just saw it. Frequency counter showing it 440 hertz, and this is dead center. Like we're within a half a hertz. Now this wave shape here, this generator is distorted. I'll tell you that right now. I can put it on the other scope and it'll look exactly the same if you want to see it. So this is not this. This audio generator is not very good. And if I crank the volume up, Right now, it's actually distorting going into my amplifier because I'm overloading the amp. But it's obvious that this audio generator probably needs all the caps replaced, so I think we'll do that for a future video. We'll overhaul this old audio generator and use this scope to test it. So this is set for 400, just under 400 milliamps, or 400 millivolts. I think that's what this range is. Should be about 300 millivolts is what it's set for. And that is exactly, I'm on the 200 millivolt per division. And that's what we're seeing. Measure. Let's tell me. As you can see, the scope has plenty of features, including the math feature, which you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide the two signals. So I've been playing around with it and off camera, and yeah, you can look at your different signal between two inputs, for example. It's pretty cool what it can do. So here's our divisions. If I put my bottom on my waveform here, even if I go to the next scale here, 100 millivolt, here we go, 100 millivolt division. Okay, my output is set for 300 millivolts, and as you can see, we're at 300 millivolts. So my generator here shows that it should be right around 200 millivolts, and well, that's what we're getting. If I turn it down to 100 millivolts, that should be close to 100 millivolts. So say this is just a variable resistor on this this old, very old, as you can see, very old audio generator. But you can see that I've got it set to 10, which should be about 100 millivolts. If I crank it up to 3 or 30, this should be about 300 millivolts. And as you can see, it is 300 millivolts. But it's not linear. As I go up to the next one up, it's going to get a lot stronger. Now that, according to my dial, should be 400 millivolts. But as you can see, it's almost 500. This should be 500 here. 2, 4, 6 is almost 8. This thing will really go up. This will really punch out a signal. If I crank this up all the way, well, as you can see now, it's flat topping. I'm actually clipping the signal in here. But if we measure it, we're on the 1 volt scale here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is about 6 volts peak to peak. So this is not a calibrated output on this unit. But we can certainly crank the frequency up. Now we're at 4.3 kilohertz. Now we're at 42.8 kilohertz. And it should go up to 400 kilohertz. And you know what this thing can do, right? If I crank this thing up, I should be able to go up to 600 kilohertz on this thing. So if I go up to 600 kilohertz, I should be able to pick up the carrier on a radio. Let's take her up to maximum here. I think it's going to top out at around 500 and something. So let's take it to, well, 530. I should be able to pick that up on an AM radio, I would think. Let's just see if I can get a signal out of this thing. Looks pretty stable too. I would have to say that that's a carrier that this generator is, if I turn it down, watch. So now I'm off frequency. I come back up. There it is, 530 kilohertz. So this old generator actually will put out RF, and I'm able to look at, it's a 100 megahertz scope, so I can go a lot higher than that, but there's 530 kilohertz, no problem. See how high this generator can actually go if I crank it right up. Probably won't go much higher than this. We're getting near the end of the, yeah, okay, that's as high as it's gonna go. It's a little bit off too. This says it should be 600 and I'm maxing out about 567, but hey, this thing's ancient. This old audio generator it at least goes back to probably about 1961, 62, somewhere in there. So this is a pretty old piece of equipment. For an experiment, we should try injecting some audio into that carrier and see how it sounds on an AM radio, because basically we'd be creating amplitude modulation by adding an audio signal to that carrier. It's mixing. It's causing other signals to be picked up by my radio, as you can hear. Heterodyning. Ouch, that's hard on the ears. Yes, we can hear that. How about 60 hertz? There's 60 hertz. 50 hertz. And if we take this down, next one down, it should be about 5 hertz, I think. I don't know how low this will go. Yeah, there are 5 hertz. And as low as this thing will go is 5.2 hertz. And if you crank that up, you'll really do a good job on your woofers. If you have that thing pumping out to your speakers, that'll do a pretty good job of melting your cones, that's for sure. For some fun, I'm going to run those Class D amplifiers through this audio generator, and we'll see how bad or how good they'll be looking at the waveform on here. I've got a couple more 100-watt modules coming, so we'll be doing some tests on them soon. So here again, just to show you that the waveform off this audio generator is distorted. As you can see, it's showing on both the scopes. If we look at it on either one, we're seeing the same waveform here, except for this one's not locking in. You know, it's not synchronizing properly, and that's one of the reasons why this old scope has been kind of a pain in the butt for the last yeah, I know, it's got a trigger problem. We'll have to service that sometime too. Several months I've been forced to use it because well, it just doesn't, you know, to get this thing to lock properly is a challenge. So I'll say good riddance. We'll get this one set up on the bench. I actually have some equipment that I have to service, so I'm going to clear my bench of this old scope and we'll get set for the next video, which I will be shooting today. Maybe we'll get a chance to utilize this little piece of equipment because it looks like this could be fun. I want to look at some real world signals like video and stuff and see how they look. But it looks like this is going to be a nice little unit and a good investment. Here's some of the other features that again, I haven't had a chance really to play with this thing yet, but we can change our trigger level, for example. If we want to trigger just on the bottom of the baseline, if I go beyond that, of course, it won't trigger. It'll go into free run. But you can trigger anywhere on the waveform itself, and you can detect it on the rise or AC coupling. I can change my source from channel 1 to channel 2 to external, right? This would be perfect for triggering for video sync, for example. Alternate back to channel 1. You can check edge or pulse, right? Slope, rise or fall, or rise and fall. Mode, auto, normal, and a single shot. So single shot, you hit the button to capture an event, or go back to auto. Capture an event. So it's pretty cool because you can analyze a waveform. Go back to auto. As I say, I've never used a DSO before, so this is certainly going to be a learning experience for me. But from what I see here, it's going to be really a helpful piece of test equipment. Just the fact that I can not only measure the waveform, but I also measure frequency and the whole bit, right? Let me see if I can get back to this thing here. See, we can measure our voltage here too. Anyway, I think I'll be playing around with this thing for a while to figure this thing out. It's got so many bells and whistles on here. Hope you enjoyed this quick look at this new scope. Next time you see it, it'll replace the other one on the bench. And for those of you wondering how my test bench looks now after I've got that monster scope out of the way, well, as you can see, I've got the new scope here. I got my tool bag behind there with all my tools put in there, my pile of test tapes, and I've even found a place to mount my DAT player that I use for test material for my royalty-free playback. So I got my DAT machine hanging up on the wall. That frees up all this space to work on stuff. Gives me a little bit more room to work with it. And I have a receiver that's going to be going up pretty quick. So we'll catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now.